Hey everyone and welcome to this new video. This video is a little bit different from my previous videos because I will not be using any designing or prototyping tool like Figma or Protopie. Today instead I will be talking about something I consider to be the most important part when creating products that people really want, and that is talking to customers. But before that, I will show you a picture of my cat judging my designs. Now, as soon as we have an idea or we have a product in mind, we should start the customer discovery or customer development phase where we try to validate if this idea makes any sense and we try to de-risk any potential investment. But for this video, I would like to assume that you already know that talking to customers is really important because as product managers, product designers, or any product related role, we know that we should be talking to customers before any investment, right? So instead of trying to convince you to do that, I will give you very practical things that you can apply directly in your next conversation. Let's get into it. So before even start talking to customers, how do I even prepare for these conversations? Of course, you should be practicing with your coworkers and you should be writing down good questions that you have. But the most important thing is to write down the assumptions that you have right now because we must have assumptions. If we have an idea or we have a product in mind, this idea usually comes from a need or a pain point or an opportunity that we saw in the market. So this pain point or this opportunity itself is an assumption because most of the time we cannot know for sure that other people have this pain point too. So we need to test it. So one way to come up with more assumptions is to ask yourself these questions. What are the assumptions that, if wrong, can really jeopardize the success of your product? Or another way to frame it could be imagine 6 months from now and your product failed. Yeah, I know, really sad, but what could have been the reasons for this failure? Some examples that we can look at is Uber. People are willing to pick strangers for a ride in order to generate additional income. And if this was wrong, most certainly Uber wouldn't succeed. And even for this video that I'm recording right now, I have the assumption that people create bad products because they don't do a good customer discovery. So write down your assumptions, and that's your most important thing to do before even start talking to customers. Now that we have the assumptions, what are the things that we should do during the interview? And we need to follow three basic rules. First, talk about their life instead of your idea. This sounds pretty easy, but as product managers, product designers, UX researchers, or even entrepreneurs, when the customer mentions the pain point that you're trying to solve, we usually want to interrupt and say, hey, don't worry, I have the solution for you. And we start our pitch mode. And everything after our pitch is biased. Sometimes customers will be really curious and they will ask you, what are you working on? What's your idea? What's your project? And one good answer that I have for these type of curious customers is to say, hey, I don't want to bias your responses, so I will leave my idea for the last part of the conversation. And most of the time, people are good with that type of answer. So talk about their life because we want to get facts from the customer. Now, following the line of getting facts from the customer, the second rule is to ask about specifics in the past instead of any opinion about the future. And this goes with good questions like, tell me about the last time you did this, or how do you feel when this happened, or what solution are you using right now to solve this problem? All of these type of questions are getting facts from the customer instead of assumptions or opinions about what may happen in the future. And last rule we have is talk less and listen more. And this one can be easily solved by avoiding yes no questions. Keep your questions as open as possible to get as much insights from the customer as possible. And maybe the only yes no question that you should be asking is, hey, can I record this meeting? Yes or no? And that's it. Keep your questions open. Now, what are the things that you shouldn't be doing during the interview? And here we're going to talk about three types of bad data that we should be avoiding during an interview. And the first one are compliments. I know this sounds weird because we all love to receive compliments. And usually it goes along the lines of, hey, you pitch your idea and people want to be nice with you, especially when you're very excited about something. So they say, hey, I love this. I will tell my friends about it. This is a lifesaver. And this can be really dangerous, especially if you make decisions based on this. Um, Humans are very prone to bias, especially when they come at the end of the conversation. Um, when we receive compliments like this, we should make sure to analyze the conversation and see if we're actually solving the pain point or the problem this customer mentioned during the conversation. Otherwise, most of the time they will not buy your product. So try to avoid compliments because we need to get facts from the customer. And what these are some symptoms that you can pick during the conversation. And when you pick these symptoms, try to steer back the conversation to getting facts from the customer. So if you start saying thanks or I'm glad you like it many times, that probably means that you're pitching your product and you're talking more than your customer. So yeah, try to avoid this, steer back the conversation to the right direction. And more carefully, try to avoid these symptoms when you are talking with your team because instead of only biasing yourself, you're biasing your entire team. So try not to communicate things like that meeting went really well because what really well even means. You're just learning at this point and we are getting a lot of positive feedback. Again, why are you getting positive feedback if you shouldn't be pitching your idea? And everybody I talk loves the idea. Try to avoid communicating these type of things. Try to communicate facts like these are the pain points, these are the main motivations I have been listening to. So these are the things that you should be avoiding. So first type of bad data, compliments. The second type of bad data is fluff. Fluff can be generic claims, hypothetical maybes, or future tense promises like I usually, I always, I will, I will, I might, I could. And this is related to the second rule about the type of questions that you're asking. Because if you're asking things about the past, you shouldn't be getting these type of questions. So you're probably asking the wrong questions. You're asking things like, "What will you do? What will you think about this?" and stuff like that. So you're getting opinions. You're getting fluff. You're not getting facts from the customer, and this is usually useless type of data. So avoid it. And the deadly fluff, I will definitely buy this. This can be really dangerous because it actually makes you feel that you hit the jackpot, you have the right product. And when you get these type of things, try to analyze the whole conversation and see if you're actually solving the problem they have right now. If they don't, that probably means they are lying to you. So try to avoid this deadly fluff. And finally, ideas. Ideas are not totally bad data, but you shouldn't be writing down the idea itself. But you should try to dig a little bit deeper into the motivation under that request. Like, for example, if someone tells you, hey, I want to pair this Excel spreadsheet with my Figma file. Instead of writing down that idea, try to ask, hey, why you want to do this? Maybe they want to save time. Maybe they want to make the communication with the design team easier. So because the customer is the owner of the problem, but you and your team are the owner of the solution. So probably if you know the motivation, if you know the reasoning behind these requests, you can come up with a better solution. Now, a short exercise. I usually, when I do these workshops in person, I show the question and I let the audience just say if this is a bad or good question. But it's kind of hard to do this in YouTube. If you want to pause the video after the question and try to guess if it is good or bad, that will be cool. If not, let's play it with me. So the first question is, will you buy a product which did X? This is a bad question because you're asking about an opinion. And will you buy a product? There's no way this customer will actually know if they will buy a product. They cannot predict the future, right? You're not asking about the past. Talk me through the last time that happened. This, of course, is a great question because you're asking about the past. They are going to walk you through how they did this, and you probably pick some very good insights from this question. Now, how much will you pay for X? This is a bad question again. This one is kind of tricky because adding a number there kind of makes you feel that it's more specific. But again, it's just an opinion about the future. How much will you pay? Again, try instead of asking this, you can ask stuff like how much are you paying for your current solution? And or also if they don't have a current solution, you can talk about how much time they're spending, how much effort they're applying to solve this current problem, and then maybe you can come up with a price. But yeah, this is a bad question. How are you dealing with this right now? This it doesn't sound like it's about the past, but it actually means around about the past because you're not asking right now during this interview. You're asking what are you doing or what you have been doing to solve this problem. So this is a good question. Now, I want to give you an extra tip for your next conversation, and that is how to avoid the startup friendzone. The startup friendzone is when someone tells you they will buy it. They really like your idea. They agree on talking with you. They respond your emails, but they never commit to anything. It's like pinning a friend zone. So how to avoid it is to ask for commitment. And this sounds kind of tricky because every time we hear the word commitment, we kind of relate this to money. And it's kind of hard to ask for money when you just have an idea. So we say, I cannot ask for commitment because this is just an idea. It will be absurd to expect people will pay me for an idea right now. But the thing is, commitment is not just money. And I will show you some other very interesting ways to ask for commitment, and it will actually tell you if your customer is really interested in your idea or is just keeping you in your startup friend zone. So, one type of commitment can be time commitments. So if someone says they are interested on your idea, try to schedule another meeting with clear goals or try to schedule another type of meeting where you will be showing them wireframes and they will be giving you feedback or try to agree on using your product for a non-trivial period like and they will agree on using your product for 2 weeks because agreeing on using your product after a reward or something like that doesn't tell you they really like your product. The second type of commitment that I really like is reputation commitment. And the reason I really like this one is because you can ask this at any time of your product development because it really tells you that they care about your idea, they will use it, and they really like it because people care a lot about their reputation. So if someone gives you compliments, try to ask for, hey, can you introduce me to your coworker or someone that you think may be also interested in this product? And especially good if they introduce you to their boss, any decision maker in the company. Imagine you have an idea for a B2B company and these employee agree on introduce you to their boss. That's a great sign of commitment. Also, you can ask for permission to put a review on your social media, put a review of that and their name in your website, something like that. People care about the reputation, so this is a great sign that you're not in a startup friend zone. And finally, of course, any financial commitments. This may be a little more later on the development process. You can ask for letter of intent, reorder, or even deposit. Thank you very much for getting until the end of this video. And if you really want to learn more about how to talk to customers, I highly recommend the Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, the last name, but I highly recommend this book. Most of the content of this presentation is based on this book, so highly recommend it. And if you really want to learn more about product design, product development, follow me and see you on my next video. And also, I will be including more picture of my cat. Yeah, see you.